He did not get chickpea and he's here and in good health. The Minister of Health himself, Dr. Fenton Ferguson, we're talking this morning about the partnership between his ministry and also Dr. Nandi, who's sitting right next to me, who's been with us all morning for the fantastic conversations. And we're talking about better health right here in Jamaica, and we're using Dr. Nandi's show as a platform to make that happen. And I say a very good morning. I know it's early. Welcome.
He's used to it by now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you heard the conversation that we're having prior to about chickpea and callers coming in and that kind of a thing. Just before we get into the collaboration and the partnership with Dr. Nandi, I just want a little update from you as to just where we are now as a country with regards to chickpea.
Where we are now, as you know, it started out in the eastern end of the island, St. Thomas and Kingston, St. Andrews, St. Catherine. It has peaked, and you would have noted very few persons are now having new cases of chickpea. The parishes in the west are the last to have been impacted. So you find in the St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, where we saw that now is, we're seeing less cases. What you're getting more than anything else is the lingering effects of chickpea and the relapse in some cases. You've heard of one person said she had it in December and now a month later, almost a month later.
Still putting us straight on our healthcare system, because I remember when it was at its peak.
But not to the extent as in the early, because you would well remember that we had to extend our clinical hours in some areas and region because of the large number of cases. One of the things I continue to say is that it came at a time when a combination of things outside of chickpea, we were having flu and other kinds of things. So, you know, I think 2014, almost everyone who had flu or it's really chickpea.
Or a one day.
Or one day.
It's chickpea.
I just have a very good immune system. Doc, tell them I have a very good immune system.
She had 2 letters of the chickpea.
I was able to
She had the chip.
But maybe we should have had a chickpea center for more information about
She has a
it.
new virus. The CH. One day.
Leave me alone.
Let's talk about the partnership. Because I've been ribbing him from morning. He's not just here for the sunshine. Let's talk about the partnership between the ministry and
No, I'm really happy that Dr. Nandi is with us, and I think for viewers, he's well established, and this program is, I think, 50-something countries now, I think.
Yeah, we're up to 79 countries.
79 now.
Outside the US. Yeah.
And so it's really a big thing that is emerging. The National Health Fund, Mr. Andy will come after me. They have been kind of spearheading the discussions with Dr. Nandi, and we're very happy that by virtue of a Jamaica connection, Dr. Nandi came into our activities relative to cancer, which is our big ideas project in the ministry. And we have been working assiduously, not just looking at cancer from the standpoint of just the radiation or the chemotherapy, but the continuum, looking at the early screening, you know, early diagnosis, treatment, all the way to palliative care. And Dr. Nandi has come in as a partner, or the discussion and conversation is going on now relative to our program focusing on radiation treatment, because part of it, it is costing in the private sector a significant sum. In fact, as high as 1.8 million for, you know, a private person getting a full course of radiation. I mean, when there's a government involvement, it can be less. But essentially, if you're going to, and there's The machines that we're working on now is known as the linear accelerator machines. And there's only one in the country, in the private sector. We are now moving to buy 2 of those machines.
Let me ask you what the participation from where you sit, what it's going to look like. So the minister has stated that we're looking at particularly cancer care and the whole continuum of cancer care. How do you see yourself fitting into that?
So what we want to do is have some of the shows, that we're filming in the U.S. film it here locally. And how does that help with the partnership? Is this that we'll produce it locally with all of the local facilities, but more importantly is that we'll have fundraising efforts. And so the shows will be filmed here. Let's say we do a whole season of shows here and then talk about some of the things we've been talking about today. Whether it's vector-borne viruses or some of the like coconut water and things that are endemic to this area that the world can then see. Take those shows, broadcast it, of course, to the Caribbean, as well as the U.S. and the 79 countries, and then ask them to help with something that is near and dear to us, which is what? To help with people's lives in a very, very important way. And nothing as important as when you're having cancer and you're getting treated. And we're not asking people to give up their houses. In the U.S., if you can give up 1 day's lunch money, and imagine if you have, several $million dollars giving up $5 or $10 US, you can really make an impact. Imagine throughout the world. So we'll take those shows, and then in between the shows we have commercial breaks, right? And in the commercial breaks, insert a call to action. Show the beauty of Jamaica, and also show the absolute need for health and health care. And then put those together with the show, and I think you really have a great partnership. And the ministry has really done so well to help us in this endeavor. And Mr. Anderson, as well as I told you, Mr. Walters, O'Neill Walters, we've come together and say, okay, we can do this in a way that will be beneficial. And we're not going to stop at cancer. What about acute care? What about trauma? Absolutely. Let's go to that next. And then we'll move through boundaries. But I think this model, when people around the world will see the absolute need that's there, and if they have to give up a few dollars, I think they definitely will.
I want to ask about how do you think this avenue would be more impactful than others? Because we've seen campaigns on television, call for action, persons inviting us to donate. So why do you think this medium in particular will be more impactful? And
I'd love for the minister to answer.
Well, let me take a stab at that, and I'll ask the minister. Here's why: is because we will create shows that will lead into that. So you have your program, you're watching football, and then all of a sudden this thing comes out in the break. Go and have a call to action. If you have a nice coordinated action where you have a show that talks about a certain country or a certain region, and then you have a break that talks about the whole problem, and in a way that deals with something that tugs at your heart.
It's a natural progression.
It's a natural progression instead of an abrupt one. Plus, remember, social media and digital media is also, we're not just talking about the television.
So it's going to be incorporated.
Yes, we have literally millions of people on our social media, both the Twitter and the Facebook feed and Instagram. We're going to use that. Every day we have questions about how can we do more, because people are involved and want to do more in charity. This will be a natural progression for them. So
I think also this is where health and tourism also meets. Because if you take into consideration a show that is beamed into 79 other countries, and while you're making an appeal for Jamaica in the sense of health, at the same time persons are getting to know more about Jamaica, because once we're focusing on health, and as Dr. Nandi has said, while it might be cancer, you're seeing parts of Jamaica, you're hearing about the alternative medicine, all the, different aspects of Jamaica that a program such as this really would bring clear value to. And this is why we're excited about this developing partnership. And as you know, it is important that we cross the T's, dot the I's, and in the process, but we think it's a glorious opportunity for us. And you see and know the challenges we face in the sector. We start this year, you see what is in the press. But the truth is, Jamaica and the sector, we are challenged, always have been. But where we are now, we are spending almost 150 US per capita
On health.
On health.
Well.
And we are getting outcomes better than many developed countries.
I'm bringing you back one day just to talk about some of those outcomes because we must share the stories.
Well,
we're going to take a break. We have to.
Yeah.
Really do. But you're not going anywhere, so we're continuing the conversation. Up next, we're talking to the CEO of the National Health Fund, Everton Anderson. And I know a lady called and she had a question. We're going to get that question answered. Plus, we're talking about some more initiatives right after the break.